capacity, and a new State of IoT report is out, about to be released with some surprising results. Founder John Wexler is here with the scoop. Plus, did you know 7 out of every 10 trucks on the road are powered by Columbus-based Cummins? Many don't realize the magnitude of this global company and the ways it has been touching our everyday lives for 100 years. And Hoosiers already asking how they can help when Indy hosts the 70th NBA All-Star Game in 2021. Pacers Sports and Entertainment President Rick Fuson stopped by Studio I to share the first community initiative, Nothing But Knit. Details on those stories and much more ahead on this edition of Inside Indiana Business.
Stand by for Top of Show with music full. Stand by D1 Sound, sponsored open with music. Stand by camera 3 with Gary. We're out in 5, 4, 3, 2, dissolve to Gary.
Hello and welcome to Inside Indiana Business. I'm Gary Dick. It has been open for less than a year, and already the Indiana IoT Lab is bursting at the seams. Some 17 companies call the first of its kind space in Fishers home. Since the grand opening last March, 50 IoT events have been held there, attracting more than 3,000 people. And very soon, the inaugural State of IoT report will be released, which is expected to have some revealing statistics about an industry that many feel is really right in Indiana's sweet spot. For more, let's chat now with the founder and the CEO of the Indiana IoT Lab, John Wexler. John, as always, welcome.
Thank you, Gary.
All right, let's start off. Coming up on 1 year next month, doesn't seem like it, but 1 year since the IoT Lab opened in Fishers. If you had to put a headline or give one big takeaway to this first year, what would it be?
Gary, first of all, thanks for having me. I would say that Indiana has a real opportunity here to lead in the next generation of the economy that we see developing here. If you look at our traditional strengths of making things, moving things, and growing things, manufacturing, distribution, and ag, all of that is going to be radically transformed in the coming decades by infusing internet-based technologies, IoT, Internet of Things, into those traditional industries. We really have a unique opportunity here to lead in the future.
For those who don't know, and many don't, what is, in a sense, essentially, what is IoT and how big of an industry can this be?
Great question. It's first of all, John McDonald at Clear Object calls it the Internet of Everything, right? And it's basically the biggest thing since anything. And if you look at Nest thermostats and Alexa and Fitbit, self-driving vehicles, all of those use IoT technologies at their core, 5G technologies and the sensors and controls that make all that go. That is the Internet of Things, which is going to touch basically every part of our lives. Forecast to be about a $3 trillion industry in the mid-2020s. This is a huge part of our economy going forward.
17 companies already have operations at the IoT Lab. Clear Object, Novel Bits, IU has a big presence there, a number of diverse companies and organizations. Talk about what goes on there, because you have a lot of different moving parts at the lab.
And that is what's so exciting to me, is to see Indiana University come into the mix, and Allegiant and Comcast, the city of Fishers, basically stepping up with Mayor Fadness signing up to be the first municipally funded IoT lab in the country. We bring all those stakeholders together to focus on basic, some research, but also product development. So it's a place where someone can come with an idea, and we can take that idea forward into a prototype or a rough minimum viable product to take out to the market to try to fund and create a company out of that.
How about connectivity? This is not just a central Indiana thing. There are really connections being made around the state. Talk about the potential for this really becoming a statewide initiative.
That's very encouraging to me. We see across all parts of the state really unique opportunities to capitalize on our traditional strengths in industry. So whether you're talking about materials in the Evansville area, or batteries where the BIC and Crane is headquartered, or healthcare up in Fort Wayne, ag in the Heartland area with Purdue. And then right here in Indianapolis at 16 Tech, I would expect there will be some really cool things happening. But each of these communities has a unique opportunity to capitalize on their traditional strengths, but then add Internet of Things into those industries, and that's what's going to make it special as we come together.
Yeah, and you talk about the State of IoT, the inaugural State of IoT report is about to be released, will be released. Here it is next month. What can we expect to come out of this report?
Well, there's a ton on the breadth of what we have available in our state. And when you look at organizations coming together to issue the first of its kind, we have a website called the State of IoT. We're capitalizing on not only telling the story of the state of IoT in our communities, but we want Indiana to be known as the state of IoT. Yeah. So, I think we do a really good job in this report of reporting some statistics, but also some really good stories about where we think this is going to lead.
Final, only have 20 seconds, but this first year of the IoT Lab, does it give you confidence that Indiana will embrace this? Because sometimes we as a state tend to be a little slow to do these things. Does this give you encouragement that can happen?
It does, and I think it's really vital to our long-term success here. If you look at communities throughout the state that are looking for strategies to continue to attract their best and brightest, I think the innovation economy really provides that. So when you look at entrepreneurship as the core of a thriving community, I think IoT provides a great opportunity.
All right, John Wexler, IoT Lab, 1 year, big report coming out next month. Thanks as always.
Thanks, Gary.
All right. Well, big news this week about a headquarters operation, a Move, a manufacturer of wheelchair vehicles and lifts in Pulaski County, plans to relocate its global headquarters to Carmel. Braun Ability says it will invest $7.5 million to move its headquarters to Lakeside Green Business Center, construct a new R&D and technology center, as well as its headquarters operation. Talent is behind the move. That is expected to create up to 70 jobs in Hamilton County. The company says the investment will also boost existing manufacturing operations in Winamac. Still ahead, Cummins marking a huge milestone, 100 years still going strong. Chief Administrative Officer Maria Rose is here with a look at a record 2018 and what's next for the iconic Indiana company. But first, Grand Junction Plaza in Westfield is a massive redevelopment project that could transform that city. And it's been 12 years in the making. Mayor Andy Cook has just unveiled how the city will fund that $37 million plan. That story is next. It's time now to go inside innovation, brought to you by DMI, mobilizing enterprises for the connected world. Well, the nominees for the 20th annual Mira Awards are out. TechPoint says those nominees, compiled from a list of nearly 110 companies, organizations, and individuals, will be announced April 13 in front of a sellout crowd of 1,300 at the JW Marriott in downtown Indianapolis. Indianapolis-based Viral Launch is nominated for 2 Mira Awards, and its CEO, Casey Goss, is nominated for the Rising Entrepreneur Award. In an interview with Inside Indiana Business, he talked about what the nominations mean for him and his company.
TechPoint does a great job of calling attention to some of the great things that are happening in Indianapolis tech, and so to be recognized as part of that is really cool. We've had some amazing growth. Last year we grew 150%, and more than doubled our team. And so amidst kind of all of the craziness that comes with that kind of scaling, it's really cool to be recognized in the areas that we have been.
And of course, Inside Indiana Business will be behind the scenes interviewing all of the winners at the 20th Annual Mira Awards. Stay tuned to see that in April. Well, here's what's on tap now in tech news, served up by Sun King. Indianapolis-based text-based interviewing platform Canvas has been acquired by JobVite in California. Canvas CEO Aman Brower says the company's headquarters will remain in Indianapolis and all Canvas leaders, employees will be retained. Canvas could also add jobs. Data capture and workflows company FormStack has announced it will relocate its headquarters to downtown Fishers. FormStack will share the building with Gastropub 4-Day Ray Brewing. An effort to grow the number of schools offering robotics programs is showing signs of success. The Indiana VEX Robotics State Championship set to take place next month at Lucas Oil Stadium, downtown Indianapolis. TechPoint Foundation for Youth State Director of Robotics George Giltner says out of nearly 1,900 schools throughout the state, 645 have at least one robotics team, whereas only about 70 teams existed in total in 2015. And for Tech News 24/7, be sure to check out InsideIndianaBusiness.com. Well, the city of Westfield has unveiled a $37 million plan to fund its massive redevelopment project, Grand Junction Plaza. The new park is part of a big push by Mayor Andy Cook and city leaders to create a more vibrant downtown. Our Mary Rachel Redmond has more from Westfield.
The dream of creating a dynamic downtown in Westfield has been over a decade in the making.
When we first turned into a city, one of the aspects that came out is this city would eventually like to have a vibrant destination gathering place downtown.
And the heart of that vibrant downtown gathering place is Grand Junction Plaza, a proposed $37 million redevelopment project that, if approved, will anchor the east side of the city and ultimately serve as a place where people can connect through festivals, markets, and other events throughout the year.
Not only do we need a very unique and special gathering place for our people, but also for our million or so visitors that come through our city who are looking for local Westfield. If you really want to taste and touch and feel what is to be local, downtown is going to be the place you'll want to go.
Grand Junction was designed by David Rubin of Philadelphia-based David Rubin Land Collective.
They are going to be embraced by signature architecture and signage and wayfinding that is designed by internationally renowned companies, all of whom have collaborated with us and with the city to create a unique experience that is like no other in the world. This is going to be the signature space. Westfield will be identified for it, and it will have extraordinary impact well beyond the borders of this town, the borders of this state, and the borders of this region.
As mayors today, it is our job to do so much more than fill potholes and pick up trash. We have to create unique places in an entire city so that people will be attracted here, and we can keep a hold of our young ones that tend to flock to some other of the larger cities. Because without these young people and a broad spectrum of residents, then and only then can we further attract businesses that will add to our tax base.
The Westfield City Council is expected to vote on the funding plan later this month. If passed, plaza construction on the land you see behind me will begin this summer and end sometime in 2021. Reporting in Westfield, Mary Rachel Redmond, Inside Indiana Business.
All right, Mary Rachel, thank you. Well, coming up, over the past 100 years, Cummins has gone from a small diesel engine company to a technology giant, serving customers in more than 190 countries. Chief Administrative Officer Maria Rose is here to talk about past success and what's next. There she is in the Inside Indiana Business Social Media Lounge, presented by the seasoned commercial bankers at Starbank, getting to know you and your business. Here's what's making news now around Indiana, brought to you by your Indiana Pacers. Well, the Port of Indiana Burns Harbor has extended a partnership with its longtime stevedore and marine terminal operating company, Federal Marine Terminals. The Ports of Indiana says that deal will run through at least 2023. FMT is responsible for loading and unloading cargo to and from ships that come into the port. Vincennes University has formed a partnership with General Motors Powertrain Bedford to train UAW apprentices in advanced manufacturing. The agreement allows apprentices to train in areas including metallurgy, blueprint reading, and computer numerical control machining. Well, a small Indiana diesel engine company turned global leader in developing environmentally friendly and reliable power solutions. It's marking a big anniversary, 100 years in business. Today, Columbus-based Cummins serves customers in more than 190 countries and employs some 62,000 worldwide. For more on this iconic Hoosier success story and what it hopes to accomplish next, let's turn now to Chief Administrative Officer Maria Rose. And Maria, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Started from humble roots, 100 years ago, Clessie Cummins, a driver that for the family that just came up with this idea, the father of the American truck diesel engine. Right?
Indeed. So Cummins took the engine that Rudolph Diesel developed and made it better. Mm-hmm. And so we were able to be successful, and we're continuing to be successful. I think the point is, though, that we're not just a diesel engine manufacturer based in Columbus, Indiana anymore. Mm-hmm. We're a global powertrain leader. Mm-hmm. So we have product everywhere. 7 out of 10 trucks on the road have a Cummins engine in them. We make engines for construction equipment, agriculture. We make engines for pickup trucks, delivery trucks. We make standby and prime power. So if you think about standby power, we're in hospitals, we are in iconic landmarks like the Statue of Liberty, and in Indiana, we are at Hinkle Fieldhouse and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Yeah. And you are an engine company, but really, you're a technology company.
That's right, we are a technology company. So we innovated the diesel engine and we're continuing to innovate for our customers. So our customers don't need the right application for their products at the right time. So if you think about those applications, sometimes it's a clean diesel engine, sometimes it's a natural gas engine, sometimes it's a hybrid, and we are now getting ready to release an electrified powertrain in commercial buses at the end of this year. Wow. We're also investing in things like hydrogen fuel cell technology. So that's going to take us even further as we hit the next 100 years.
And you are coming off a record 2018.
Yes, we are indeed.
Yeah, what drove that?
Well, for us, when the North American truck market is up, it's up. But you know, we also had a great year in power generation. Our distribution business is booming. Our components business is doing great. So all really 4 segments are doing well, and then our new segment, electrification, also hit its marks as well.
Key to continued success is talent, is keeping talent, but also attracting talent here. That's a challenge for everyone. Your headquarters in Columbus, you've got a new facility, relatively new facility in Indianapolis. How's the talent equation?
Well, you know, Indiana is a great place for us to do business. You know, and so we have about 10,000 employees in Indianapolis. They're really strung between the Indianapolis all the way to Seymour. We've got about 450 employees in Indianapolis now. That building is full. But it's the kind of place where we want to be able to keep attracting and retaining talent in Indiana. One of those for us is key to making our employees feel welcome. And not just our employees, but all Hoosiers.
We'll talk about that because Cummins is very adamant, among other companies as well, supporting hate crimes legislation at the State House. Why is Cummins so out front on this legislation?
Well, it's about inclusion. It's about people feeling included, people feeling like they're valued, making sure that Indiana is a welcoming place for people to want to work. So we want to bring talent to Indiana. We want them to come here, and we don't want anything to stand in our way. So right now, you know, the General Assembly is hearing legislation on hate crimes. We are very encouraged by what we're hearing and what we hope can happen.
All right. Mario Rose is the Chief Administrative Officer at Cummins. Thank you for talking about the last 100, but also what's next.
Thanks very much for having me.
All right. Well, next, in just 2 years, Indianapolis will host the NBA All-Star Game. Pacers Sports and Entertainment President Rick Fuson has more on the first community initiative, Nothing But Net. Well, a delegation led by the Indiana Pacers is in Charlotte this weekend, taking notes at NBA All-Star Weekend. Pacers Sports and Entertainment President Rick Fuson stopped by our Studio I to talk about what he hopes to learn. And he also gave us the scoop on the first All-Star Game initiative, Nothing But Net.
Everybody knows what nothing but net means. It's a swish, right? Right. Well, our folks have come up with this great thing called Nothing But Knit. And so what we're going to do is make beanies for All-Stars. And so we're going to make about 5,000 of these. Yeah. And we're going to give these kits. I want you to have the kit right here that you can take home, and you can do it in your spare time. But we'll have those all across Indiana. This is really an Indiana initiative, and we want people to join us in Indianapolis on so many different ways.
Yeah, we do harken back to 2012 in the Super Bowl, and those scarves, such a big hit. This really is a different spin, if you will, on that, and a way to get non-traditional people and volunteers.
Yeah, I mean, it is February. We love our weather, and so we're going to embrace it. And so think about somebody knitting one of these. It might go to the coach, or might go to Commissioner Silver, or might go to one of the actual All-Stars. So it's really going to be exciting opportunity. We're taking another delegation to Charlotte to look at the All-Star Game again, to make sure that we see every opportunity. And then it's us, just 2 years from now. So it's really, I think, a great opportunity for us to spread the word around the state.
You're heading out to Charlotte, as you said, to go to the NBA All-Star Game this weekend. What do you hope to learn? Charlotte's a similar size market. Do you hope to learn a lot out there?
Well, I think, yeah, last year we were in LA. We've seen it in Las Vegas. We've seen it in a number of bigger cities in terms of population. But seeing it in Charlotte is a little bit more toward the size of us, although I don't believe Charlotte has the same kind of downtown, certainly, that we do. And I think that's going to be a major player, with us, with the new hotels going up, et cetera. So it's going to be a great opportunity for us. And really, the economic development, we like to see that. We like to see what companies coming out, because the economic development is estimated to be over $100 million for the All-Star Game alone, and that really equates into lots of jobs. The Pacers, we just did some economic impact studies, and we're over about $370 million a year annually in terms of economic impact, 4,000 jobs, and that shows again, I think, that these sports activities and teams really lead to economic development.
The NBA All-Star Game last in Indianapolis in 1985. I remember it. I was there, an old-timer. But a lot has changed, not only in the game itself and the activities, but in the hosting of the game and the activities around it.
Yeah, there's no question about it. I got hired in 1984 by the Pacers, and that first job I had was to represent the Pacers for the All-Star Game in '85. 40,000 some odd people at the Dome then, and it was just about a few events. The game certainly was the centerpiece, and we had the All-Star Saturday, et cetera, but we didn't have that many parties. There weren't as many media. We had 3,000 media coming in for this event. So it's exponentially bigger.
Can we expect more announcements as the game gets closer?
You will see a lot of announcements from us. We want this to be the best All-Star ever. We want it to be right for the NBA, right for the game of basketball, right for Indianapolis, and right for the state. So you're going to see a lot of different things as we reach out all across the state to make sure that all 92 counties touch this All-Star game.
Coming up next, we'll take you inside Brightlamp, a Purdue University affiliated startup. Stay with us.
Stand by D1 Sound, sponsored open with music. Stand by camera 3 with Gary. We're out in 5, 4, 3, 2, resolve, cue Gary.
Well, concussions continue to be a hot button issue in sports, especially football. And hundreds of athletic trainers throughout the country are now using their smartphones and a new app developed right here in Indiana to detect concussions. Business of Health reporter Kylie Valletta has more. Kylie.
Thank you very much, Gary. Indianapolis-based Brightlamp released the app called Reflex just last month, and it already has more than 500 downloads. Traditionally, doctors will use a pupillometer to shine a bright light in the eyes, and the pupil's reflex to that light can indicate a concussion. The Reflex app performs just like a pupillometer, but adds the power of data. Brightlamp Chief Executive Officer Curtis Sluice joins me now to tell us more. Thank you so much for being here.
Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
You've been working on this since you were an undergrad at Purdue, so congratulations on releasing the app.
3 long years.
Yes.
Yeah.
So give us an overview of how it works.
Sure. To make it as simple as possible for medical professionals to utilize, all you have to do is open up the app on the phone, input some subject information, hold the phone up to the person's eye, initiate a test, and then you're done. It usually takes about 5 seconds. We record those results into the screen and the data log, and you have access to it forever.
And the data is measuring the pupils, sort of how the pupil moves or responds to that light?
Yeah, we're measuring something called the pupillary light reflex, which is a fancy way of saying you walk into a bright room and your pupils constrict. We utilize that as a quantitative tool to be able to correlate different diseases, ailments, or issues with the brain.
So this focus on concussions, the app is designed for medical professionals to use it, which is a big umbrella. So give us an idea of who your users are right now and how they're using it.
Sure, our primary target is athletic trainers, sports medicine doctors, neurologists, but what we've seen is a large uptake for the clinical research community. It is a growing field, and a lot of publications have been coming out here recently, and clinical trials. So clinical researchers have latched on, and they make up a majority of our user base at the moment.
So the app can be used in the field. It can send the data to a doctor who can determine if there was a concussion. But your ultimate goal takes that a step further. Tell us about where you hope to end up.
Sure. The big idea, the big vision is that we can democratize these test cases for parents or just a lay individual that can undergo diagnostic tests on their mobile device. So the idea would be that a parent would be able to test individuals like their children for concussions down the road. That's our big goal. That's our like three-year goal, right? So right now we're strictly the acquisition tool, but we're using that data to be able to build that product.
Or an athletic trainer on the sideline.
Yeah, exactly. Athletic trainers and coaches, because not every school has an athletic trainer. So coaches will be able to utilize that as well.
You have another app in the pipeline called Tipsy, which is an interesting one, and some others more medically focused. Tell us about those.
Yeah, so Tipsy, we like to say it's a breathalyzer for your eye. So the idea is that you can correlate the amount of alcohol in somebody's system to the pupillary light reflex. That's an important piece of information because A, we can keep people safe, and then in addition to that, we can not have you have these other pieces of hardware in your pocket. Those other medical device products, I mean, we're focused on glaucoma, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease. We're even probably picking up some autism research here relatively soon. So we have both products in both categories.
And all of these connected to the eye.
Yeah, all of it.
It's fascinating. Tell us what role Purdue has had in helping you build your company.
Sure, Purdue's played a very important role. So being a young entrepreneur at Purdue University while still being an undergrad, guidance is needed in order to start a business and grow. Starting a business is relatively straightforward, but doing it correctly is kind of difficult. So the foundry and the associates there, they're the individuals that help guide and coach me to be able to build the company.
Okay, and you're developing this app for concussions right now. Why did you choose concussions to start with? Why make that your first target?
Yeah, it's a great question. That's how the idea became incepted, right? We were watching the news breaking about the NFL and concussions relating to it, and we walked through the patient journey, and every time somebody gets their bell rung, the number one thing they check is their eyes. And so it was simple from there to begin conceptualizing a product, and we stuck with that primary goal because we believe it's an admirable goal, but it's also a very underserved market.
And just a few seconds left, give us an idea where you are in fundraising.
Yeah, sure. We actually just kicked off our seed round, and we're currently working towards filling that out and closing.
All right. Well, congratulations again on releasing the app, and hopefully someday we will be using it on the sideline.
Yeah, thank you.
Gary, back to you.
All right, Kylie, thank you. Well, the International School of Indiana, it has a new leader. Elizabeth Head has been named the third head of school there and the first female leader in the school's 25-year history. In our Eye on Education segment now, Elizabeth is here to share her vision for the future of that very important school in our community. And Elizabeth, welcome to the school, but welcome to Indiana, too.
Thank you very much.
And I have to ask you, because you came to Indiana, or coming to Indiana, from Costa Rica, so a little climate change. What attracted you to the job?
Climate change. What attracted me to the job was ISI and what the International School is doing for Indianapolis. That's what made this such an exciting place, because of what ISI and the students are giving back to the city with their language immersion program, with the full IB continuum, and then all they can offer to the workforce here in Indianapolis is powerful, as well as attracting talent from around the world and around the U.S. to come to Indianapolis. So it's a great talent recruitment piece, and that's what excited me about coming, even with my own children.
Well, let's talk about that, because I think many people in Indianapolis and in Indiana know of the International School, but I don't think that many people know the impact and the importance and the connection it has to business attraction, talent attraction. Talk about some of the programs and how how the school really is interrelated with the business community.
Right. Well, what's key is that it was founded on the sole motivation 25 years ago of attracting talent to Indianapolis so that companies would have a place to relocate, put their children, have their children feel comfortable, integrated in full language immersion. They can study Mandarin, Spanish, and French in full immersion throughout all of their schooling. They can do full IB continuum. Doors are open around the world to study for university and beyond. But then it's attracting all of these companies to Indianapolis to make it really a hub for internationalism. And then the product of what ISI is doing, then they send that back into Indianapolis to feed into these companies that need this type of talent. It's unique. It's the only school in Indianapolis and Indiana doing it, the only school in the Midwest doing this.
And that's why I wanted to follow up with you in terms of the uniqueness. So this really, in your view, is an asset to the world of education, but to the business community, really.
It's necessary for the business community, especially if Indianapolis wants to continue to grow in internationalism, because without a school like this, then companies won't see Indianapolis as such an attractive asset for their company to move into. So then they see, oh, not only will the company come, but the families will have a positive experience. Their children will grow in ways that they can go back to Indiana or around the world with no issues at all. Great university acceptances, great scholarship money, because they're in the best academic program, not only in Indiana, but what's known around the world as the best academic program. So it works both for the family and for the company to make Indianapolis a great place to come.
What's next? Talk about your vision. 25 years, the International School of Indiana. What's next? What do you want to accomplish?
Well, that's what's really exciting. There are two key things that we want to accomplish on the short term and the midterm. But first of all, we want to communicate and remind Indiana why ISI was even founded 25 years ago. And that was precisely to benefit the business community in Indianapolis. So number one is just communicating the vision of what ISI has done so well, all of the graduation results, the language, all of the academics, and then all they give back to the city. So reminding Indianapolis of the asset that ISI is. And number two, we're in the process of a silent phase of capital campaigning. So we see building a lower school campus on our current upper school campus as a new investment for the city, because it's giving back into the city for what the city has wanted for business development. So we're in the process of building a lower school campus.
A lot going on at the International School of Indiana. And Elizabeth Head, congratulations on the new role. Welcome to Indiana.
Thank you.
We look forward to doing more stories in the future as well.
Excellent. Thanks so much. It's great to be here.
Well, a reminder, all of our Eye on Education segments can be found at InsideIndianaBusiness.com. And if you have an interesting story idea, a suggestion, please send it to segment producer Tara Twig at tTwig@growindiana.net. Still ahead, our insiders will sound off on some of the week's top stories. But first, 14 high school seniors across Indiana have been awarded the prestigious Evans Scholarship. It's worth an estimated $120,000 over 4 years. As we go inside Indiana sports, a director of the Western Golf Association explains how the foundation continues to honor young caddies. Well, established in 1930 and still growing strong, the Western Golf Association's Chick Evans Scholarship Program recently selected its latest round of recipients headed for Indiana and Purdue universities, with much of their educations paid for. Bill Benner has more on this week's Inside Indiana Sports. Bill?
Gary, thanks. And the numbers really are quite impressive. More than 10,000 Evans Scholars alumni nationally, and nearly $400 million provided toward tuition and housing costs in his existence. And the scholarships are available to young men and women willing to work as caddies during high school, while also demonstrating academic excellence, financial need, and high character. And joining us today is a former Evans Scholar himself and also a director of the Western Golf Association, Vince Saul. And Vince, it's great to see you. You've been a long-time friend. This is Evans Scholar. Many of my friends are Evans Scholars. This is a tremendous program. It's been around for a long, long time. Generally, what is the criteria if you want to pursue this?
Well, believe it or not, it's to be a golf caddy. First and foremost, you have to be a golf caddy. It was started by Chick Evans in the 1930s, who was a golfer himself, and he was not able to afford his second year of Northwestern, so he dropped out, started a fund with his mother with the winnings that he had made from his amateur golf career. And so he started sending kids to college who were golf caddies. And you have to have financial need, you have to have outstanding character, and you've got to have good grades. And so if you reach those three criteria, we always say let's find that kid and put a bag on his shoulder and get him or her to college.
And this is open to young men and women, and throughout the state of Indiana.
Correct. It's a national program. It's based in Chicago, but in the state we've got caddy programs up in Merrillville and South Bend and Elkhart and Fort Wayne and Terre Haute all the way down to French Lick. So boys, girls. They don't even have to know anything about the game of golf or how to caddy. We will teach them all of that, but truly a statewide opportunity. And if you get the scholarship in Indiana, you can use that scholarship for a 4-year full tuition scholarship to either Indiana or Purdue.
And that's a serious chunk of change of anybody any parent who's written those checks before. You just went through the interview process, selected 14 recipients from throughout Indiana?
That's right. This year applications were up, which is a great positive sign for us. We had 44 applicants across the state. We chose 14 as recipients of the scholarship. And they come from 11 different clubs across the country. We had applications from 17. So there's a lot of places for young people to get involved across the state. It's
important to note that, especially if you want to get involved, you have to be a caddy for at least a couple of years. Is that correct?
2 years, yeah, thank you. It's you apply for the scholarship in the fall of your senior year of high school, and we require that you caddy for a minimum of 2 summers. So the ideal time to start caddying is after your 8th and 9th grade. Once you get into the summer after your 10th grade, it's still possible, but you're going to have to really commit yourself to it.
Important to note, the BMW Championships, which have been at Crooked Stick in 2012 and 2016, a huge amount of the proceeds for the Evans Scholar Program is generated by that event.
It is. We are privately funded by just private donations, but also our flagship event is the BMW Championship. The Evans Scholars Foundation is administered by Western Golf Association. We say that we do championships and scholarships. So the scholarship part is the Evans Scholarship. The championship part is the golf tournaments that we run, one of which is the BMW Championship. In 2016, we raised a little north of $3 million for the scholarship alone, which is a huge deal.
And really important, I think, to note, the Evans Scholars, they have a 95% graduation rate and a cumulative GPA of 3.3. So these are outstanding young men and women.
Impressive. I'm glad I got mine a while ago because I think they've upped the standards a little bit.
And again, it's important to point out this is all tuition and
tuition, free
housing.
Tuition and housing for 4 years at one of those 2 universities, and so. We say it's one of the best kept secrets, unfortunately, in the state of Indiana. We've got more scholarships to give than we do have kids applying for the scholarship right now. So it's a great opportunity.
And I got to believe the interview process, that's got to be daunting because you walk in front of a group of strangers and you got to talk about yourself.
I still remember my interview day. You walk in behind a podium and you field questions in a press conference style manner, and it's pretty intimidating for a young kid.
All right. As we wrap up, if you're a young man or a young woman, even if you don't play golf, but you're interested, where do you learn more?
You go to our website, which is wgaesf.org, and from there you can click on Caddy, and there's a Caddy Club locator on there. You can punch in your zip code and see where the clubs are in your area that you can caddy.
All right, Vince Saul, Director of the Western Golf Association, financial advisor in his day job. We thank you for being on the show, and kids, this is a real opportunity out there for you. Gary, back to you.
All right, Bill, thank you. Well, coming up, our insiders are getting warmed up to sound off on a bill that could enhance Indiana tourism, new jobs and a global headquarters to Carmel, a lot more. There they are in our Inside Indiana Business Social Media Lounge, presented by the seasoned commercial bankers at Star Bank, getting to know you and your business. Well, each week, a group of insiders joins me to offer perspective on some of the week's top stories. This week, sounding off on a bill aimed at enhancing Indiana tourism. Braun Ability moving its headquarters to Carmel, and the Pacers launched the Nothing But Knit community initiative ahead of the 2021 NBA All-Star Game in Indy. Our insiders this week are Gregory and Appel Insurance Vice President Steve Appel, also education expert Robert Herzog, and Indy Chamber Chief Economic Development Officer Maureen Krause. And welcome one and all to the Insiders for another edition. And Maureen, I will start with you. In the world of tourism, it is big business, certainly in Indianapolis and in parts of the state. Interesting this week, a bill that was introduced at the Indiana State House that would create essentially a new Office of Tourism. Currently the Office of Tourism Development. They would create the Indiana Destination Development Corporation, public-private partnership.
So that's important because it really puts together the 2 key factors to strengthen this industry, to encourage more growth, and really to make it truly statewide. We've seen the benefit of Visit Indy, what it's done for the tourism economy in the Indianapolis region, but think about the whole state and how this could really positively impact communities of all sizes to grow something unique that they have that people want to be a part of.
What I think is interesting too is Indiana, for whatever, has not funded tourism from a government level, from a state level. at all, certainly when you compare it to other states.
Yeah, and hopefully this is a statement, right, to everybody in the state, double entendre there, to make some sort of commitment and start to really, put that higher on the priority for everybody even outside of Indianapolis to really make that happen.
It's a sector of the economy like agriculture, like motorsports, like advanced manufacturing.
Do you have a sense, because the legislature has been resistant to fund tourism in the past, do you have a sense how far this will go? Will it happen?
We are very hopeful that it does go all the way through, because I think as communities look at diversifying their economy and adding something new, this supports that in a great way.
Gotcha. Very important issue, obviously, education in the state of Indiana. Teacher compensation is certainly a hot button issue at the Indiana State House. Steve, this week Governor Holcomb announced members of a new next level teacher compensation commission to kind of get at this whole issue of teacher compensation and how to solve the challenge.
I think there's just a big issue of how to treat, train, and retain teachers, and obviously pay and trying to attract top people to go into the space. And so it's a great topic. It's being looked at. I know we're going to talk about let Robert touch on is the lack of teachers that are on the commission, but hopefully that'll be something that we address to continue that important area.
Yeah, Robert, this is your world, education. As you look at the challenge that Indiana is facing with teacher pay, it can't be, Indiana's not alone in the country facing that issue.
No, although we're lower on the totem pole than a lot of other states and others that we're competing with teachers on. So it's one of the things that has been really positive that the governor has put together his commission. It is I think has been in the last 24 hours a small detractor about who's been on it, but it is the right step, and it is a creative and signifying event that says we need to look at this, and we really need to look at creatively across the education landscape at K-12 here. It's a blue ribbon committee, right? A lot of smart people to look at creative ways to figure out how we can make that work, because it's very important in teacher pay across the United States. Right. You've seen this like in Denver. There's a lot of unionized activity that's going on to really raise those wages. So I think they're doing the right thing, getting out in front of that, being proactive to find ways to work with the school board and other leaders throughout the state to really make it happen.
All right, shifting gears, communities all over the state of Indiana are creating major live, work, play developments, redevelopment projects focused on downtown. Certainly Westfield is one of those cities this week unveiling plans. Actually, it's been 12 years in the works, but a funding plan for Grand Junction Plaza, which is a $37 million project, really a big project in that community. Mayor Andy Cook says it is a key to the vibrancy of that downtown.
I think it's that sense of place and identity that's so important for communities to have. And people, first of all, Westfield attracts so many people with sports. They want somewhere to go after, so why not embrace that in your own community?
Just the mayor has, the Grand Park's been huge for bringing in national tournaments and things like that. The mayor had the funny line of, we have to do much more than what is it?
Filling potholes
and picking up trash. And I just, living in Indianapolis right now, the pothole issue maybe hasn't hit Westfield, but that's very important still.
And isn't it amazing? You look at Hamilton County, you look at Westfield, at Fishers, at Carmel, at Noblesville. A lot of activity going on in all those communities when you look at their downtowns.
And it's just the next step, right? And I think that was maybe the side of what he was trying to focus on with his statement is this is the next piece of what the overall strategy for Westfield needs to be, and it is a good one. It balances work-life play, and they need you need to create more people who can live in there.
Helps with talent attraction.
Exactly.
It's that place.
When you come, let's shift gears, come to Indianapolis. Maureen, I'll give you a chance to kind of tout some big numbers. Right, the Indy Chamber in 2018, some big economic development and investment numbers.
So our regional economic partnership, which is the city and the 9-county donut counties, last year had the best year in its 20-year history. $2.5 billion in investment and over 10,000 new jobs. That involves all of our communities, heavy on manufacturing and technology. So we're very excited to see everyone benefiting in this region, showing that economies are in fact regional, but the best year since we started keeping records.
Good numbers, and we talk about regionalism. It was a regional effort that went after Amazon and the HQ2 project, and some interesting news this week, and I know you were very much involved in that process. Indy made the top 20 list, the final 20. New York City and suburban Virginia selected for those two, and this late in the week we hear that Amazon is pulling out, not going to go to New York City.
You know, we've heard anecdotally before, companies want to be where communities want them. There's a really strong connection there. And when you don't have the vibe at the get-go that you're welcome, I think one of the things that's so strong about our region is we are very welcoming. From any person you meet in a business, you know, a retail operation, we just are a very welcoming place. And we know that they know that as well. So we'll see what happens.
What do you think? Because the Amazon statement said they're not going to open up the search at this point or right now. I mean, do you think that cities like Indianapolis would be back in the mix or could be back in the mix?
You know, this didn't go exactly how most people thought it would go with New York. I mean, we don't compete against New York anyway. They know that we would talk to them again. We've continued the dialogue.
It would be a completely different experience for them dealing with Indianapolis, to your point, than New York. I mean, let's face it, they're pulling out, you know, they've faced nothing but heat in New York since that announcement. And they're just not getting...
They would feel very welcome here.
Yes.
In terms of corporate relocations on perhaps a smaller scale. But a major announcement this week, Bronability, the Pulaski County-based company, real Indiana success story, has been up there for years, announced this week it would move its global headquarters from northern Indiana and Winamac, move it to Carmel, corporate headquarters, as well as an R&D center. Keep manufacturing up north. Steve, as you looked at that announcement, when I saw it, the first thing I thought about was it was a talent move, and that their CEO actually confirmed that.
I have driven by their Winamac plant, and there's a very, very small town, which is great, and it's a super company in what they do and their mission and their services. But I think as they continue to grow and want to attract talent, it makes a lot of sense to be in Carmel for that headquarters and keeping the manufacturing up north.
Yep, great young company, again, exactly that right, talent, plus just the ability to be able to in and out of Indianapolis is so much easier to travel. I think it's a big win for Carmel and Central Indiana.
And a win for both because they keep the manufacturing up north and say they're going to add jobs up there too. So.
Which is great. Retention is the foundation of any economic development program. So they've been retained and they will grow here, and that's where you have to start before you do all the bells and whistles part.
Yeah, well, I want to touch quickly a number of job training initiatives announced this week. Anderson, the mayor there, talking about a job training program, a new job center opening up in Rush County. The Rush to Work is a job center there. Vincennes and GM forming a partnership down in Bedford as well. Interesting at how these lots of folks are getting their arms around that whole issue.
You know, they don't get these kind of jobs, unfortunately, don't get a lot of press. They're high paying, you know, they meet those median, I talk about every time I'm on here, right? We have to increase median wages across Indiana. These are the kind of jobs that do that. Getting those training pathways opened are phenomenal.
Okay, we wrap up on sports as we usually do. The Pacers Sports and Entertainment out this week with Nothing But Knit, which is the first community initiative in advance of the 2021 NBA All-Star Game. Take off on the scarves we had for the Super Bowl.
I saw Rick with all of his wear.
Yeah, it was.
I just love it. It shows that sense of community. Nothing else. I love it.
The Super Bowl thing, remember, people were knitting from all over the country, so it'll be interesting to see if it picks up the same juice for the NBA All-Star.
Yeah, Indy always does a great job hosting big-time events. Usually they do something different and unique. Robert, 20 seconds left. Is Indy going to pull some surprise? I'm sure they're going to do a great job hosting it, but what do you expect?
My God. I mean, just in and of itself, starting with the knitting, there's definitely going to be more surprises. Can't wait. And they've started well enough in advance, 2 years out. It's going to be a great event.
And that group led by the Pacers in Charlotte this weekend for the All-Star Weekend to get some tips, although I think Indy could probably give them a few tips as well. Robert Herzog, Maureen Krause, also Steve Appel. Thank you, one and all, and we'll be right back. Coming up next week, the IU School of Medicine hits record levels for funding from the National Institutes of Health. That story and a lot more next week. Thanks for joining us this week. I'm Gary Dick. Go out and make it a successful week.
Inside Indiana Business with Gary Dick is a production of Grow Indiana Media Ventures with support from WFYI Productions.